Great. Hello everybody. So this particular raga जो है सा ni sa re pa ni sa re ni pa ma pa ni sa re ma re ni re sa sa re ma pa ni pa ma re ni re sa sa re ma pa ni pa pa ma re ni re sa sa re ma pa ni sa re sa ni pa ma re ni re ma re pa ma re ni pa ma re ni re sa. This is Bairagi Rag Bairagi Bhairav. Bairagi Bhairav. So वैराग्य में जैसे you're in a mode where the minimum is enough. The minimum is more than enough. That is Vairagya. Vairagya is happiness for no reason. Happiness with minimum, with the least possible. Just happy with that. So this Bairagi Rag carries through this idea of minimum. So out of there are 12 notes between Sa and the next Sa. The next Sa is 13 notes. The 13th note is the higher Sa. So the 12 notes, if you take all in the chromatic scale, which is the Hindustani scale, the Western scale, the other scales have more. The Arabic scales has even more than these, but the Hindustani and Western scales have 12 notes from one Sa to the next Sa. It's called the chromatic scale. Sa re re ga ma pa da ni sa ni da ma pa ma. I'm not singing it right. Ma ga re. Let me play it just the harmonium, okay? So there are 12 notes. Sa re re ga ma pa da ni sa. So out of 12 notes, this Bairagi rag. So if you take what is known as the Bilawal That or Bilawal Rag Bilawal, which is the straightforward Sare Gama Pada Nisa. Sare Gama Pada Nisa Sa Ni Da Pa Ma Ga Re Sa Sare Gama Pada Nisa Sa Ni Da Pa Ma Ga Re Sa. So these 12 notes make the Bilawal Rag. So sorry, so Sare Gama Pada Ni. Seven notes. From one Sa to go to the next Sa, 7 notes are used. So Bairagi only uses 5 notes. Out of the 12 available notes, only 5 notes are used. So between the sa and the sa re ma pa ni sa. So sa re ma pa ni. That's it. So from sa to sa only re ma pa ni. Only 4 notes. If you really think of it that way, from one sa to the other sa, only 4 notes out of the available 12. So the so the rag bairagi captures this idea of happiness or completeness or satisfaction with the very least. And how does that happen? It happens when when you know who you are really and you remember who you are. When you know who you are and remember who you are, which is awareness itself, the awareness which is experiencing your life. So many easy ways to remember that. Ask yourself the question, who is that or what is that which is hearing my voice? What is that which is hearing my voice? And the common answer or the sort of easy answer would be my ears are hearing your voice. But is it your ears that are hearing? It's not the ears that are hearing. The ears are only an instrument. Just like this mic is an instrument, this internet connection is an instrument which is communicating the sound through the mic, through the wires, over the internet to some server somewhere and to some other server and another server, and then finally back to your internet provider who has a connection through the cable or wireless to you. The sound is just traveling, but none of this is hearing the sound. The mic is not hearing the sound, the wires are not hearing the sound, the cable is not hearing the sound, the phone is not hearing the sound, the computer is not hearing the sound, the the servers are not hearing. This is just passing through, just passing through. Your device, your speaker, your headphone is also not hearing the sound. That is very clear. But even your ears are not hearing the sound. Just like all of this, the ear is also just simply passing on the sound. Ear is not hearing. And then the sound coming to the brain and getting processed. So these are, what is sound? You're just, there's some compression of air, compression and expansion of air at a certain frequency or a combination of frequencies, and just this vibrating air which is converted into electrical signals and then back from electrical to again vibrating air next to your ear, and that touching your eardrum, and then the eardrum vibrates, and that signal again gets converted into a neurological signal through the auditory nerve and then to the brain which processes that auditory signal. And the brain is also not hearing this. The brain is only processing. It is taking this auditory signal, which is a neurological signal, certain combination of electrochemical reaction passing from the one nerve cell to another nerve cell to another nerve cell, another nerve cell. And none of these nerves are hearing the sound. The eardrum is not hearing the sound. The ear is not hearing the sound. The brain, which is processing this signal at the end and interpreting those small signals that are coming from the auditory nerve, even that is not hearing the sound. So who the heck is hearing this sound? Kaun hai wo? We never think about this. We take all these things for granted. We take all these things for granted. हाँ मैं सुन रहा हूँ, ये कान सुन रहे. But no, this invisible, unchanging, untouched, untouchable energy, this awareness, which is getting and processing this sound, that is the one that is hearing the sound. And that one which is hearing the sound is simply वो बिल्कुल आराम में है, चैन में है, is in a state of relaxation, it is in a state of okayness, it is in a state of plenty. It is not waiting for anything, it is not waiting for any sound to come, it is not waiting for any light to come, it is not looking for anything to happen, anything in particular to happen. Simply okay and satisfied with whatever is, and completely satisfied, completely okay, complete, बिल्कुल संतुष्ट है ये ऊर्जा, ये जागरूकता बिल्कुल ओके है, बिल्कुल ठीक है। और जो भी आता है उसको पूरे पूरा स्वीकार, जो भी साउंड आया उसका पूरे पूरा स्वीकार, जो भी संवेदनाएं आई उसका पूरे पूरा स्वीकार, accepting fully and completely everything that simply shows up, and experiencing it and hearing it and hearing it and creating an experience as a result of that, becoming one with this sound. That sound finally merges with awareness, starting from my, actually we say my awareness and your awareness, but there is no such thing as my awareness and your awareness. There is only awareness. But starting with awareness, awareness using this particular equipment, this particular voice to vibrate this vocal cord and then generate some vibrations, and then traveling all this way and finally reaching awareness again. So the starting point is awareness, the end point is awareness. So starting with awareness, ending at awareness. So created by awareness and finally experienced by awareness. So something that is created by awareness cannot be lacking whatever it is that it is creating. It is already part of it, it already belongs to it. So there is no lack. There is nothing missing. There is nothing, because the source is also awareness and the destination is also awareness. So if awareness already had everything that is to be had already, because only then it can create whatever it is already available and existing, available and is, then clearly it cannot be something that it craves for or misses or or needs. Absolutely not out of a need. It is simply completely as a gift, as a outpouring, as an overflowing. So this is what we mean when we say that awareness lacks nothing, needs nothing. So when something lacks nothing and needs nothing, then clearly that joyousness is coming from um, just from itself, for no reason. For no reason. Nothing needs to happen. It is simply an outpouring, like art. If you think about it from a practical point of view, what is the need for art? ना तो वो पेंटिंग को खा सकते हैं, ना तो वो आर्ट का जो ऑब्जेक्ट है उससे कुछ यूज करके कुछ काम में आएगा वो, ना ये म्यूजिक या संगीत वो भी कुछ काम में नहीं आता है, उसको क्या करेंगे? So all art from one point of view is completely useless, and yet it is one of the most precious experiences that we as human beings have. Because art, because it is for no reason, is automatically an expression of vairagya, an expression of fullness, an expression of completeness, an expression of overflowing. Because only when there is an overflowing, there can be art. Anything that is made out of a need, by definition, it is not art. It is science, it is engineering. And nothing wrong with science, nothing wrong with engineering. They are both very useful tools and useful areas of knowledge. But when it comes to expressing vairagya, renunciation, minimalism, art takes the lead. And normally we would think that art is something we would abandon first in times of need. But there are stories about the Holocaust. There's musicians and artists who were in the concentration camps. If they were allowed one thing to take with them, the minimum thing to take with them, then they would carry their violin, they would carry their flute. They were driven out of their homes with nothing except the clothes on their back. But they said, okay, one thing, then the one thing they would choose is their musical instrument. Not the food, not the, not the money, not the anything else. It was the art that was the most precious. And there is the famous string quartet. A string quartet in the Western music is a quartet, which means four instruments: the violin, viola, maybe it's two violins, a viola, and a cello and a bass. Yeah. So violin, viola, cello, bass. Those are the four instruments, um, which form a quartet. And there is a famous quartet that was composed by an artist during in the concentration camp. And even the soldiers who were perpetrators of this horrible Holocaust, they also recognized that art is something precious, and allowed this composer to actually write down and compose his music even during while being in the concentration camp. And I'll see if I can find yeah, Messian, the the Messiah's recollection. Okay, wait, I forget who's the Furor Verlag, Milk and Archive. Okay, I forget the name and the, but we can look it up later. So this composition was created when they know, millions around, thousands of people around them are just being killed. They know their turn is not far. But what did they want to do? They wanted to create art in those last moments of their life. Not only create art, but perform that art. And it is the reference to this particular string quartet. If you remember the song we talked about from Leonard Cohen about uh, Dance Me to the End of Love, the first line, Dance Me to the Burning Violin. It is a reference to this particular string quartet, which is playing the violin as they are almost going to be killed. So, why is art so important? Because it is awareness in Vairagya. It is a recognition of awareness. It is a knowing of awareness. We, through our mind, body, through art, we touch that place within us. which is awareness, pure awareness itself, because it is an outpouring without reason, without any practical purpose, but carries the qualities of that, carries the memory of that awareness, and it reminds us of that awareness. And why does a beautiful painting, a beautiful piece of music, a beautiful sculpture move us so much? I mean, if you think about it in practical, it's totally useless. And yet it moves us. Why? Because it reminds us of who we really are f- for that moment. In that moment, we remember who we are. Takes our breath away. And so, sculpture, I remember one of the most beautiful sculptures I have seen is in the museum in Hyderabad, in the Nizam's museum. It's a marble statue, the veiled woman or something like that it is called. And you cannot believe this sculpture. You have to see it, and maybe there are some images on the web. It's marble carving, and yet it looks as if there's a veil, and the face is seen through the veil, and the body is seen through the veil, and that veil is also made of marble. It's not cloth. Unreal, unbelievable. I mean, it. You look at it and you just. And why do we go wow like that? Because it shows us that quality of us, that quality of fulfillment, that quality of okayness, that quality of perfection, that quality of lovingness, which is its true nature. It reminds us of that true nature. Similarly with poetry, you know, what is the purpose of poetry? The words can be said without poetry. The meaning is conveyed anyway. So why poetry? Yet again, reminds us of who we are through the rhythm, through the quality of the sound, the 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 beauty of the words themselves, or music, or a painting. And yet some people are so blind to all of this that they miss it. I heard a story yesterday about a I forget which museum is it. Museum somewhere in, maybe was it Yugoslavia or France, I'm not sure, but in a museum there was a painting with three faces where the outlines of the face are there, but the features, the eyes, nose, lips are not there. And this was a multi-million dollar painting. And and the fact that the featurelessness of it, whatever the artist was communicating, but there was a security guard who was in charge of that museum on one on his, I think it was his first or second night as a security guard in that museum, and he was bored. So he took out his ballpoint pen and drew eyes on that painting. Can you imagine? He drew eyes on the painting. This painting is worth millions. Not only the, forget about the cost and the price and all that, the guy doesn't understand even this much that this is art, and draws eyes with a ballpoint pen on a masterpiece. And it was months before somebody of the audience noticed that there were eyes in this painting where they weren't supposed to be. And then they tracked it down, and the guy was whatever. And but they know how to restore this painting, fortunately. And of course, restoring itself will cost thousands of dollars. uh, but it will get restored, thankfully. Thank God. But uh, but yeah, this is a person who is so disconnected from source, so disconnected from truth, so disconnected from beauty, that you could do damage to that, be so thoughtless, so unaware, so unconscious, so ignorant. And ignorant doesn't mean not knowledgeable, but ignoring who you really are, that it just doesn't move you, doesn't affect you. So one way to know, yeah, like people writing names on monuments, it's so strange how why people would do that. um so yeah, so far removed from this understanding. So, and so one way to know where on the journey are you, how close have you understood, how closely have you understood awareness, how closely have you realized yourself, who you are. One way to know that is whether art moves you or not. If art doesn't move you, and it can be different forms, I mean, different for people react to different, whether it's a painting or a sculpture or music or a scenery or nature, um, or a beautiful object which feels through texture, or the smell of flowers, the smell of perfumes. One of the senses, or more of the senses, or all of the senses, if you're really awake, I think every sense has this art component. There are connoisseurs of taste who can take one sip of wine and they can tell you where the grape was grown, in what region of France this grape has come from. I mean, they are that finely tuned to the taste sensation. And then there are perfume uh, experts who can also tell you what all those things are. So some form or the other, something, or all of the things, if they move you, then you're on the right track. If art doesn't move you, you're missing something. You're missing something. You have not yet understood awareness. You have not yet understood consciousness. You have not yet realized who you are. And if art, um, so if art doesn't move you, then learn it. Learn it. There are courses on art appreciation, how to look at a painting and see the different qualities of the brushstroke, of the style, I mean, it's a whole universe, literally a whole universe, if you go into it. Or music, or sculpture, or tasting, a culinary aspect, creating something in the something from food. So we all have different talents and different things that we are good at, but see how art appreciation, that will tell you the distance between you and yourself, your true self. Art is the gauge for the speed of enlightenment. Art is your dashboard for your speed of enlightenment. And the more you can appreciate it, movement, dance, I forgot dance. Oh my goodness. The art of movement, how much grace and beauty there is in movement, whether it's the movement of the oceans and the stars, or the movement of a dancer, the beauty in a movement. Do you appreciate that? Do you awaken to that? Does your, you know, does your breath, do you take a, you know, miss a heartbeat when you see that beauty? Yeah, to me, nature is ultimately art. It's art. I mean, at the end of the day, what is the purpose of all of this, in fact? Even though we call some things as practical, so maybe a crops and food and fruits have a practical value to it, but the ultimate purpose is just an overflowing. It's just an expression. It's a, in a biological form. It's a biological orchestra. It's a planetary orchestra that is playing out. The season, the music of the stars, the music of the solar system, the rhythm of the waves, the visual beauty of nature. In fact, that song, if you remember, right? I've sung this before. हरी हरी वसुंधरा पे नीला नीला ये गगन, कि जिस पे बादलों की पालकी उड़ा रहा पवन. बादलों की पालकी उड़ा रहा पवन. Just see the imagery, the beauty of the words also. The clouds no longer seem like clouds. That as if the wind is purposely driving this palki, this caravan. दिशाएं देखो रंग भरी, दिशाएं देखो रंग भरी, चमक रही उमंग भरी. ये किसने फूल फूल पे, ये किसने फूल फूल पे किया सिंगार है. ये कौन चित्रकार है, ये कौन चित्रकार, ये कौन चित्रकार है, ये कौन चित्रकार, ये कौन चित्रकार है, ये कौन चित्रकार है, ये कौन चित्रकार. लिरिक्स 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 पब्लिक. Yeah, somebody must have posted. Not yet. चलो भाई, fastest fingers का हुआ. हाँ. Okay, here we go. तपस्वियों सी है अटल ये पर्वतों की चोटियाँ, ये बर्फ की घुमेरदार घेरधार घाटियाँ. ध्वजा से ये खड़े हुए, ध्वजा से ये खड़े हुए है वृक्ष देवदार के. गलीचे ये गुलाब के, बगीचे ये बहार के. ये किस कवि की कल्पना, ये किस कवि की कल्पना का चमत्कार है. ये कौन चित्रकार है, ये कौन चित्रकार, ये कौन चित्रकार है, ये कौन चित्रकार है, ये कौन चित्रकार. There's one more antara actually to this. कुदरत की इस पवित्रता को तुम निहार लो। हा 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 रा टारा टारा। इसके गुणों को अपने मन में तुम उतार लो। चमका दो आज लालिमा, चमका दो आज लालिमा अपने ललाट की। कण 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 से झोंकते तुम्हें छवि विराट की। अपनी तो आँख एक है, अपनी तो आँख एक है, उसकी हजार है। ये कौन चित्रकार है, ये कौन चित्रकार। So, if this poetry is all about how nature is not just nature is the art, nature is art, and oneness, divine source, you, your true self is the artist. And this idea, oh my god, this has gone to so many. There's one Gujarati bhakti geet. Let me see if I can find it. Kanku kharyu ne suraj ugyo. Try and find it, please, somebody. Kanku kharyu ne suraj ugyo. Lyrics. Uh, माड़ी तारो कंकु खर्यो ने सूरज उग्यो। माड़ी तारो कंकु खर्यो ने सूरज उग्यो। जग माथे जाने रे प्रभुताए पग मूक्यो। कंकु खर्यु ने सूरज उग्यो। माड़ी तारो कंकु खर्यु ने सूरज उग्यो. So it's a beautiful Lata Mangeshkar or Asha Bhosle. One of them have sung this very beautifully. Check it out on YouTube. One of my friends also, actually from my college days, Mitali Mukherjee, has also sung this song very beautifully. She is also on YouTube. In fact, her version I like the best. Check it out. Not because she's my friend, but she is really good, especially this particular one. And being a Bengali, she's a Bengali, and yet her Gujarati pronunciation and her enunciation and her tune, it's so authentic. Partly because, of course, she studied in Baroda, where I went to engineering college. So she was in the School of Music at the time, doing her bachelor's in music while I was doing my bachelor's in engineering. And it's interesting, there was a music competition in which I had also taken part, and she had taken part. It's like a Hindi film ka wala scene. uh, but of course, being from the School of Music and properly and beautifully trained in classical music, I was no match. But so she won, and I I was like second or third or something. But so she has sung this song very, very beautifully. Hear it, and maybe next time we'll sing it some more. But point I was getting at is this: ये जो नेचर है, नेचर का जो संगीत है, नेचर की जो का जो की जो कला है, is nothing but art. Ultimately, what is all this for? There's no purpose. The stars, the universe, this planet itself, कोई purpose नहीं है. नहीं भी होता तो क्या होता? कुछ नहीं. So purposeless is the first quality of art. इसका कोई पर्पस नहीं है, उसका कोई काम नहीं है, ये बस है और ये व्यक्त करता है जो क्वालिटीज of that purposelessness, of that divine. So nature is a painting on the grandest of scales. Whereas a painting is 2 feet by 2 feet, or a mural is maybe 100 foot by 100 foot or whatever, and our musical songs are 5 minutes long or 10 minutes long, and our uh, the music of nature is like eternal, lasting billions of years. The landscape and the canvas of nature is billions of miles across, spans the entire sky. So, so nature is art, not just nature is art, to answer Anamika's question. Not just nature is art on the grandest of scales, on the grandest of scales, and the smallest of scales, of course. These each cell doing its thing, its dance. What a beautiful piece of art. This body, these flowers, this cells, this smallest. So from the smallest to the grandest. Imagine the crystalline structure of ice, for example, of snow. When it falls in the form of a crystal. You see it under the microscope, it is a perfect crystal. Symmetry of the snow crystal, beyond imagination. No purpose, pure art. Wonderful. So enjoy this music. Enjoy. We have wonderful things that are being planned for this retreat. So you're in for a lot of surprises. So whoever has not yet signed up, please sign up. Um and looking forward to see. Wonderful, Sonal. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I bow down to the divine that is situated where you are and where everything is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jai Gurudev. Hari Om Tat Sat.